The Sony PlayStation 3. Released on November 17, 2006 in the United States, it's the most anticipated piece of hardware in gaming history. It embodies the heritage of the PlayStation 1 and 2 and holds the promise of the most realistic gaming experiences ever. But the PS3 is also much more than a game console. The PS3 is a complete media computer in one small package. It can play movies, music, and photographs as easily as it plays games. You can even attach a keyboard and a mouse and browse the web. Let's start with the games because that's where the PS3 excels. Starting a game is easy. You simply insert a disc and follow the on-screen prompts. You control the game with the new PS3 controller. It looks a lot like the PS2's controller, but with two big differences. First, the rumble that you felt on the PS2 has been removed. It's been replaced with motion sensing hardware. In new games, designers will have the option of detecting the orientation and acceleration of the controller and use it to control games.
What follows are the known events of his life, from July 11th to July the 14th, the day he was last seen.
The thing you notice when you play PS3 games is the amazing realism. That realism comes from the hardware inside the box. There are two things inside the PS3 console that make it so powerful. The first is the cell processor. On the chip, there is the main CPU. It's a PowerPC nearly identical to the CPU used in the high-end Mac G5. It runs at 3.2 GHz and has a 512 kilobyte cache. This processor alone has plenty of power to play video games, but there's much more power on tap here. Attached to the CPU are 8 more RISC processors capable of doing vector arithmetic. They're known as the SPEs, or Synergistic Processing Elements. Each of these processors has 256 kilobytes of its own RAM to hold code and data, and the programmer can run different code on each SPE. 6 of them handle whatever processing the programmer requires. One of them handles OS-specific tasks like security, and one is a spare. Together, all of this processing power gives the PS3 about 40 times more CPU power than the PS2 had. For example, here is a hyper-realistic game for the PS3. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of computation happening simultaneously. One SPE can be handling the sound for this scene. One SPE can do some of the thinking for this AI character. One can be dealing with the physics of this explosion. Another can be thinking about the shadows. All of this data feeds to an incredibly powerful graphics processor. The graphics processor uses an NVIDIA G70 core with 256 megabytes of RAM and a 550 megahertz clock. It has 64 times more memory than the PS2 had and clocks about 4 times faster, meaning that it can draw millions of polygons per second at 1080p resolution. The realism in some of these games is amazing. When you're tired of playing games, the PS3 is just getting started. And this is something that makes the PS3 unique. The PS3 is actually a media console. With the PS3, you can watch movies. Both DVDs and the new Blu-ray high-def discs play in the PS3. Blu-ray discs play at full HD resolution for spectacular clarity. You can also insert CDs or download MP3s to listen to music. The MP3 files are stored on the PS3's internal hard drive. If you have photos on a memory card, you can watch them on your PS3. The PS3 recognizes common image formats and can display photos individually or as a slideshow. You can also copy them to the hard disk. You can even plug in a keyboard and mouse and browse the web at 1080p resolution. That's 1920 horizontal pixels and 1080 vertical pixels. And you can multitask. So while browsing and looking at photos, you can also listen to music. So when you're thinking about buying the next addition to your home entertainment system, consider the PS3. It's not just another gaming system for hyperactive kids. This is as much a grown-up's electronics device that can power an entire home theater, including movies, music, pictures, and even the web. I'm Marshall Brain, and that's how the PS3 works.